Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the City Planning Commission Public Meeting. And Madam Secretary, please begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission Public Meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, August 10, 2016. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony, please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor.
Here.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Delauss.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie. Commissioner Efron.
Here.
Commissioner Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, July 27, 2016.
On the minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes, Madam Secretary, are approved.
Scheduling. On calendar numbers 1 through 11, we have resolutions for adoption. Scheduling Wednesday, August 24, 2016 for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the resolutions are approved, Madam Secretary.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 16. Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 12 through 16 concerning La Central. These items have been laid over. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 17 and 18. Calendar number 17, CD7, N160342ZAX. Calendar number 18, M900267C, ZSX. In the matter of applications for the grant of an authorization and a previously approved large-scale community facility development concerning the Montefiore Large-Scale Residential Development Stair Project for adoption on calendar number 17 and 18. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 17 and 18 have been adopted. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 19, CD2, N160374BDK, in the matter of an application concerning the formation of the Dumbo Amended Business Improvement District. For a favorable report on calendar number 19, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report have been adopted on calendar number 19. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 20, CD4 N160069ZRM, in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning resolution concerning 625 West 57th Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 20, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 20. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 21 concerning Adorama. This item has been laid over. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 22, CD9 N17007HKM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the Church of the St. Joseph of Holy Family. On the adoption of calendar number 22 for referral to the City Council, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Besser,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo, Commissioner Delauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Efron,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 22 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan Calendar Number 23, CD 11 N17008 HKM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the St. Paul Roman Catholic Church, on the adoption of calendar number 23 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 23 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan Calendar number 24, CD 1 N17009 HKM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the former Firehouse Engine Company 29, on the adoption of calendar number 24 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 24 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan Calendar number 25, CD 1 N170010 HKM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of 315 Broadway Building, on the adoption of calendar number 25 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 25 has been adopted. Borough of Queens, calendar number 26, CD1 C150135ZMQ, in the matter of an application for an amendment to the zoning map concerning 38th Street and 31st Avenue rezoning, for a favorable report on calendar number 26. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 26. Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 27, 28, and 29. Calendar number 27, CD2, C160103, ZMQ. Calendar number 28, N160101ZRQ. Calendar number 29, N160102ZRQ. In the matter of applications for a zoning map and zoning text amendment concerning the Barnett Avenue rezoning, for favorable reports on calendar numbers 27, 28, and 29. Chairman Weisbrod.
Madam Secretary, today the commission has the opportunity to vote on land use actions that advance key elements of the administration's strategies to address the city's housing crisis, particularly the ability to create more affordable housing. And the setting for this proposal could not be more historically apt. Sunnyside Gardens, which was largely developed nearly a century ago as an area where working and middle-class families could find newly built, well-designed housing that was within their means. The Barnett Avenue project before us, I believe, is an appropriate one on an appropriate site. It will transform a parking lot into more than 200 units of affordable housing for households earning between 50% and 130% of AMI with no market rate units. Of these, thanks to the mandatory inclusionary housing program, 30% will be permanently affordable forever. The applicant is an affiliate of Phipps Houses, which has a long and distinguished history of developing affordable housing, including within this very community. It has owned the project site since the 1950s, and Phipps Houses manages the Phipps Gardens apartment development across the street, which it itself developed in the 1930s. And given all of these facts, I see this proposal as not only a positive addition to the neighborhood and the city, but a compelling one as well, and I enthusiastically vote yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
I'd like to share the chair's conclusions and also on behalf of
That's a yes? Commissioner Cerullo?
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss?
I just want to say that I think this is a positive project, and I would encourage FIPS to see if it's possible to bring the upper AMI limit down in the conversation. And I happily vote yes.
Commissioner Dweck?
Yes.
Commissioner Efron?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner Levin?
Yes.
Commissioner Marin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 27, 28, and 29. Borough of Queens, calendar number 30, CD7, C160247PQQ. In the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning the Mitchell Linden Library site. For a favorable report on calendar number 30, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 30. Borough of Queens, calendar number 31, CD 13, C160248PQQ, in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning Rosedale Library site. For a favorable report on calendar number 31, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 31. Borough of Queens, calendar number 32, CD2, C160249PCQ. In the matter of an application for the site selection and acquisition of property concerning the NYPD vehicle storage facility. For a favorable report on calendar number 32, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 32. Borough of Queens, calendar number 33, CD2 N17001PXQ. In the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 1 Court Square. For a favorable report on calendar number 33, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 33. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 34, CD2 N160274ZAR. In the matter of an application for the grant of an authorization concerning 63 BB Street for adoption on calendar number 34. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 34 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 35, CD1 N170011HKR. In the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the George William and Anna Curtis House. On the adoption of calendar number 35 for referral to the City Council, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 35 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 36, CD1 N170012 HKR. In the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the St. John's Episcopal Church and Rectory. On the adoption of calendar number 36 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 36 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 37, CD1 N170013 HKR, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the 92 Harris Street House, on the adoption of calendar number 37 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Besser,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor, Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Efron,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin, Commissioner Marin, Commissioner Ortiz. Calendar number 37 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 38, CD3 N170014 HKR, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the Princess Bay Lighthouse Complex, on the adoption of calendar number 38 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 38 has been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 34. Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 39 through 45. Yes, you- Calendar number 39, CD6, C160285, ZMX. Calendar number 40, C160286, HAX. Calendar number 41, N160288, ZRX. Calendar number 42, N160289, ZRX. Calendar number 43, C160290, ZSX. Calendar number 44, C160218, MMX. Calendar number 45, C160307, ZSX. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text, and city map amendments, UDAP designation, project approvals, disposition of city-owned property, and special permits concerning the Lambert Houses redevelopment. Notice, a public hearing is also being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with the above ULUP hearings to receive comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This hearing is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. As is our practice, we will start with a 15-minute presentation by the applicant team, and that consists of two applicants, are HPD and Phipps Houses. Then we will switch to opposition and go back and forth as necessary. And so let me start with the applicant team, and Weinstein and Weinstein, will you identify your team?
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Tim Weinstein, I'm Director of Bronx Planning for HPD. In order to facilitate the discussion and the questions, we will be presenting as a team. We'll have here, as addition to myself, Adam Weinstein, no known relation, from Phipps Houses, William Stein from Daniel Architects, Aaron Werner from HPD Environmental Planning, and Allison Runick from AKRF. Speaking first, this is a momentous project for us. It's not all the time that you get to have the opportunity to create for existing residents over 700 brand-new apartments, and in addition, create another almost 1,000 units of affordable housing. This is a project, and Phipps will go into more detail about the issues, but it's a development, an existing development that has had issues. And the best way to rectify it, the decision was made, would be to start over, in effect. It'll be a game changer for the area. It'll not only add population, it'll improve and add on the retail space as well. It'll create, it'll solve security issues in the area, which there is concern in that neighborhood. It'll just do a lot of good things, not just for the residents who live there now, the residents who will live there, but for the community at large. There are many actions. I would use up our whole 15 minutes if I described all 7 actions, but there is a modification of a large-scale residential district. There's a rezoning. There are special permits relating to being part of a large-scale residential district. There will be a designation of an MIH area as well. These are all the actions that are in front of you for the hearing today. This is an area that a lot is going on. There are 2 affordable housing buildings just a couple of blocks south that are currently in construction. There'll be another project that you'll be hearing from in another meeting or so, immediately south of this development as well. It's the West Farms area. There have been other projects that have already been done. SFIPS themselves did a project a few blocks to the east. And so this will really be a change of an entire area for the benefit. So at this point, I'm happy to pass on to Phipps Houses to go into more detail about the project itself.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you again.
Why don't you use the mic?
Oh,
Your
sorry.
name?
I hate speaking into a mic. This is...
Just for posterity, we
for
want to be
posterity.
able.
Fair enough.
Say your name, please.
Ted is correct. It is a momentous project. It is by far the most complicated project I will work on in my entire career. I assure you of that. And it came to us 4 years ago, meeting with HPD, or 5 years ago, in fact, meeting with the Deputy Commissioner, Eric Enderlin, currently the Deputy Commissioner of HPD, to discuss a means of preserving it. And Phipps has been working on figuring out ways to fix the congenital flaws of Lambert houses for the 27 years that I've been with Phipps, and probably before. And Eric pointed out that the proposal that I was putting on the table, which addressed probably 40% of the issues that we felt would render the project reusable and good and sustainable for the future, was 3 times his entire budget for the next 3 years. It was that moment that I realized that this project has so many fundamental flaws to it, beginning with its planning, to be perfectly honest, in a severe downzoning from the underlying zoning in the surrounding neighborhood, to essentially eradicating what was a downtown village. And it continues through the plumbing, the electrical heating, the endless hallways, the impossible security situation with 42 means of access and egress. But we realized it really needs to be reconceived. The project requires demolition and relocation, which is going to be a massive undertaking. We have the first building. I would say that I think the residents, engaging with the residents is critical, ensuring that residents are handled, are informed throughout the relocation. But I'll share with you an anecdote. As with every relocation, the goal is to create enough units to house the relocation site. So we are building successively larger projects such that the final phase is essentially, the final phases are essentially all new housing, not relocating additional residents. But the first relocation site, which is currently vacant, had 44 apartments at the time, 7 of which were vacant, so 37 occupants. And I mentioned that we were conceiving of this 4 years ago to our asset manager who oversees the complex. And she said, oh, well, I told the residents. And I said, you what? And she said, Adam, 35 of them have already moved. And I said, what did you do? And she said, we offered to take their bags across the street, their belongings across the street to another portion of the complex. I should say, for the record, that portion of the complex is sometimes referred to as the dark side. So here you have people voluntarily packing up their belongings for the possibility that 5 years later, they might be able to have a brand new apartment. That to me bespeaks the crying need to redevelop this property. You'll hear later, I want to address something that is not typically part of a land use discussion. You'll hear later from representatives of 32BJ. I've addressed this at a prior hearing. Lambert, we value our employees at Lambert. They're currently covered under a 32BJ contract. We will try to retain as many of them. There will be long delays, and there will be periods of time where we don't have jobs on site, but we have a large employment base. We will seek to retain them. We have lots of union employees under the very similar contract conditions as those that pertain at Lambert. And as I've said before, when the new development is built, we are for good jobs. Honestly, we are not the ones who decide whether employees are represented by a union, by which at all, which union, but we have no objections whatsoever to having our employees represented by a union. And very few Phipps employees are not represented by unions, and those that aren't are paid essentially the same wages with a different benefit package, but still a very rich and valuable benefit package. So I wanted to get that on the table for further comment later. The guiding principles of the redevelopment, which Bill Stein will talk about in greater detail, really try to reestablish that downtown village. It involves greater density at corners. We've worked very tirelessly with your staff, with the department's departmental staff, and coming up what we think is a beautiful arrangement of buildings and a beautiful mix of incomes, uses, provision of a site for a school, because that is, as you'll hear later, that is an adverse impact in the EIS. Provision for community facilities. So it really is, as I think I've started, it is a momentous project, and I'm really looking forward to getting started on it.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bill Stein. I'm an architect with Datner Architects, and we're the architects for this project. To pick up where Adam just left off on some of the urban design principles that guided the development of this master plan for the Lambert houses, just to quickly recap, the existing buildings are 14 buildings with a total of 731 apartments, and a commercial building on what we call Parcel 10 at the corner of Boston Road and East Tremont Avenue that contains approximately 40,000 square feet of not very well-organized or well-designed retail, office space, and a very underutilized parking garage. The overall Lambert Houses redevelopment project will result in 13 buildings containing approximately 1,665 residential units, approximately 61,000 square feet of retail, both centered on Parcel 10, which is immediately adjacent to the elevated subway station, as well as extending retail on the Boston Road corridor leading up to the Bronx Zoo entry, and really revitalizing that corridor not only for residents of Lambert Houses and the neighborhood, but visitors to the Bronx Zoo. The project will also include 110 rooftop and on-grade parking spaces, plus land for a new approximately 86,000 square foot public elementary school to be developed by the School Construction Authority. So some of the urban design principles that may be a little difficult for you to see the rendering here were to recreate the street frontage, to create a real feeling of an urban neighborhood with a defined street frontage, to create buildings with a variety of heights. The heights of these buildings vary from 7 stories to the tallest building is 18 stories. The 18-story building is actually the first building planned to be developed, in that it will accommodate residents from the next phase, so that those residents can move into the new building, and subsequent buildings then can be demolished for the future phases of the project, with the remainder of the buildings, as I say, varying from 7 to 16 stories. The buildings are organized around landscape courtyards, unlike the current Lambert houses where private and public space is undefined, difficult to secure, underutilized, and kind of a no man's land, if you will. The new courtyards, which will actually serve as entries to the buildings, will be activated and overseen by a security presence, in that all residents will enter into a staff lobby with a concierge who will oversee comings and goings of residents and visitors. The courtyards will be landscaped. We provided openings into the courtyards to create view corridors through the site. Another important element, part of the original Lambert Houses development, demapped a portion of Bryant Avenue from 181st Street down to East 179th Street, and also demapped the portion of East 180th Street from Bryant Avenue to Boston Road. This plan will reactivate those streets. The streets will remain private property, but they will look and function for all intents and purposes like public streets. So a key portion of this, a key element of this plan is to recreate the street grid and recreate the sense of an urban neighborhood that really fits in with the surrounding neighborhood. And finally, I might mention that working with the Department of City Planning and HPD staffs, we've really closely looked at heights and setbacks. As in the various actions, we are asking for some height waivers, but generally we're respecting the setback lines and other elements of the two districts that we're proposing, the R8 and R71 districts for the development. So we look forward to your questions and any further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
Good morning, Chairman Weisbrod and Commissioners. My name is Aaron Werner. I'm the Director of Environmental Planning with HPD. I'm here to summarize the disclosure of potential impacts from the draft EIS, as well as the ongoing interagency discussions regarding mitigation to address these impacts. The DEIS discloses the potential for significant adverse impacts related to the seeker technical areas of community facilities, intermediate schools, transportation, vehicular and pedestrian circulation, and shadows. To address the projected impact on intermediate schools, which I should point out is not anticipated until the 2029 build year for the project, we've been coordinating with the SCA and the Department of Ed on mitigating for the impact, which would consist of DOE closely monitoring school enrollment in the area during the remaining years of the current 5-year fiscal year capital plan, as well as the following 2 capital plans, 2020 to 2024 and 2025 to 2029. At such time as the need for additional capacity is identified, DOE will evaluate the appropriate timing and mix of measures to address increased school enrollment. The developer FIPS is also committed to providing a site for a new school on Parcel 10, currently envisioned as an elementary school. Moving on to transportation impacts, for vehicular traffic, 16 intersections were evaluated. The analysis identified the potential for impacts at 7 of them. Through continued coordination with DOT, it has been determined that these impacts at 2 of the intersections can be fully mitigated through standard practices implemented by DOT. However, impacts at 5 other ones could not be mitigated. In terms of pedestrian circulation, the potential for significant adverse impacts was identified at the crosswalks of 1 intersection. Through continued coordination with DOT, it has been determined that these impacts could be fully mitigated by standard practices implemented by DOT. With regard to shadows, the draft EIS discloses the potential for significant adverse impacts on 2 resources, the Beck Memorial Presbyterian Church, located at 980 East 180th Street, and River Park, located at the northeast corner of East 180th Street and Boston Road. In working with LPC to address shadows on the Beck Church, we learned that this church has been closed and boarded up for several years. We are not aware of any plans to reopen the church by the 2029 build year for Lambert houses. In closing, I would like to note that we have Allison Ruddick here from AKRF, who can also answer some questions on the EIS, should you have any. If you have any questions for me while I'm here, I'll gladly answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, is Ms. Rudek going to say anything, or no?
He's here to answer questions.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the applicant team that wishes to say anything? As the remaining minutes of your time expires. Look at that. It's very efficiently done. Okay. Questions? We will start with the Vice Chairman, Mr. Knuckles.
Thank you. Thank you. Adam, this project, as was mentioned, is momentous. So I ask this in the context of assurances that it's going to be done. How many hundreds of millions of dollars is this going to cost, and what basically are the sources of capital that will fund it?
My very question as well. The total project cost is about $650 million. It is phased over 15 years. As with, obviously, we want to produce as much affordable housing we want to add to supply. That's what Phipps Houses is for. That's why we exist, to address a growing city and ensuring that housing exists for all levels of income, so that we can have a diverse labor force and not become Aspen. The advantage of a phased project is that the parceling out of financing is over periods of time, because it is a government-aided, government-subsidized project. It has certain financing advantages that other projects don't have, in that the existing Lambert Houses is a project-based Section 8 development. We are working assiduously with our good friends at HUD to assign that project-based Section 8 contract to the new development, which will add a base of financial support, allowing us to carry more first mortgage debt than we would normally carry, and thus bring down the relative cost, the relative amount of city subsidy. But it's an enormous amount of volume cap. It's an enormous amount of city subsidy. It's an enormous project with enormous impact. So I would say, Ken, address your question to my good friends at HPD and HDC.
Okay. Ted, you want to supplement?
Only that's why it's going to take 13 years. So he made the point in the original presentation about the amount that it would cost in terms of the effect on our budget, and by spreading it out. The fact is that while this ULURP action and actions covers the entire development, and one of the things that wasn't mentioned, which I should, obviously this is overwhelmingly privately owned land. It belongs to them. There is a piece of city-owned land involved, which will be part of one of the sites that will be redone, which is why we're a co-applicant on this. We wouldn't normally be a co-applicant on a privately owned property. But by doing that way in phases like that, so then that'll make it hopefully feasible to fund. The idea is obviously to be affordable. Ultimately, what you're going to have is a development of close to 1,700 units. A good chunk will be Section 8 to replace the existing. A good chunk will be probably, because I know the question will be asked at some point, no more than 60% of area median income, and then approximately 20% of the final total will be about 80%, up to 80% of area median income.
So this would involve presumably low-income housing tax credits,
Tax
state
credits.
funding as well? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Well, again, there is, what I was really actually getting to was that although this ULURP action covers the entire development, the closing that will take place in the first phase will only be that first phase. It'll only affect one new building. And then again, just to emphasize again the complexity of this, is that you have a 731-unit existing complex, and you're going to eventually have close to a 1,700-unit new complex. And so we're starting out like this, old and new,
Right.
and then over the period of time. And so the trick, if you want to call it that, is how do you finance and operate and fund two different developments that are really together. And another part of HPD, our preservation finance staff, have been working very strenuously with Phipps and with HUD, figuring out how do you keep the existing buildings properly funded and improved, frankly. They are spending money trying to improve conditions in the existing buildings, and this is no secret to say this, which are going to be demolished at some point. But the people who live there deserve to have improved conditions in their buildings. And so there's these discussions, how do you do that at the same time that you're then planning on building 14 brand new buildings with over almost 1,000 additional units as well. So it's hard to say exactly. I mean, there would obviously be an interest on the part of the city in funding this all the way through, but truthfully, 13 years from now or more, different administration, different programs. The programs that we're using, like this first building will be, and most of the buildings will probably be through our ELA program, our low-income program. Well, there may not be an ELA program at some point. There'll be different programs. The later phase, the last phases, if they were being done now, would be probably under our mix and match program in order to get that balance. But, it's hard to say other than that there's certainly an interest on the part of HPD in funding this because, again, like we said at the very beginning, it's not every day that you get the opportunity to have almost 1,700 new units. One of the things also, I'm not sure if Bill said that Well, there's the possibility of space for a school if need be. If it's not needed, then that'll be additional affordable housing in that space.
Thank you.
Mr. Cantor.
Thank you. Good morning, Adam. Question, please. Several. First of all, as they say in French, this is a hell of a job. Have you worked with, or are you planning to shortly work with a pre-construction contractor?
We're doing pre-con with our chosen general contractor on the first phase, which is Monday Construction.
Okay, because obviously you not only have the issue of taking the buildings down, but how to take them down. And I suspect that you will have foundation issues as well. Is this a pile job?
No, actually, the original Lambert has no basements.
Oh, good.
So one of the main problems, thus it is electrically heated. There is no ability to convert, for instance, when I mentioned earlier, the 40% of needs addressed in the existing Lambert houses, that did not redo the heating system. It costs us approximately 4 times as much money per unit. It's a gross number, but per unit to heat the existing Lambert houses as it does our newer buildings.
Are you contemplating using this as an incubator for any, let's say, non-traditional construction methods?
The first building will be, because it's 18 stories, the first building and a couple of the other buildings that are more sort of at iconic points are going to be steel and plank. I don't think we would consider using boxes. And that, by the way, that to Ken's earlier question, that adds cost to switch construction of the superstructure to steel and plank versus block and plank. But predominantly, most of the buildings will be block and plank. It's proven. It's a proven system. I shouldn't say it with Bill in the room, but we've talked about using other architects for subsequent
Oh, you
phases
can't do that to Bill.
to create some. Well, Bill has a lot of work with us, and is designing the first building, and I'm sure we'll be involved in other phases as well.
And he's still smiling, even
He is
after you
still
said that. so.
As you know, the community, even though it's being managed and controlled by you guys, the community is going to be tremendously concerned about the demolition process.
Agreed.
Having pre-con is,
The biggest issue that has come up in demolition is that is asbestos abatement, and
What?
that's asbestos abatement. We're actually in order to have a chance of closing in December on the first building, I'm presuming a favorable vote. Let's assume for a moment that there is. We are actually we're early starting the demolition now with our own funds, without HPD funds.
with respect to that asbestos thing, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, and I know that we are close to other buildings, and I know we're close to the L. Are any of the buildings candidates for demolition by blasting?
I doubt it.
Okay. And the asbestos would be the coup de grace.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Deluz?
Hi, Adam. Hi, team. I have a couple questions. First up, I don't envy you. This relocating this number of tenants, even over 13 or 15 years. I mean, obviously, it'll be shorter period for the relocation is significant. And so, you know, I think the story you told about your asset manager saying 35 have already moved out of 37 is great. I also know that it only takes one to delay a project. So I'm just wondering, what is the ongoing plan for engagement with the tenants, and what kind of communication structure have you put in place? Because that is part of mitigating the
Yeah.
risk of delay.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, Councilmember Torres has been a terrific conduit with our residents. They are our customers currently, so we're engaged with them regularly. What we've preliminarily discussed is having a website or some other social media that residents of Lambert can have periodic updates. We think that's probably the most effective means of communicating. We'll definitely have a kickoff meeting, you know, if we're so fortunate as to receive favorable votes, we'll have a kickoff general tenant meeting and explain. That's the only information is the only way to ensure that your customer knows and your customer's happy.
And is there a similar communication, or what kind of communication is going on with the commercial tenants that are in the other building?
The commercial tenants are all, with one exception, under demolition clauses. And at the appropriate time, we'll engage with that one. It's a supermarket operator. We like him, so I'd love to keep him, and we would provide a relocation resource for him as well.
And my last question just has to do, I mean, it's a very significant project. We didn't really touch on sustainability features that you might be including. It'd be really helpful, I think, to hear about that.
Thank you for asking. I think there are certain elements of the plan that are inherently sustainable. This is really a transit-oriented design, which de-emphasize car use and emphasizes public transportation and pedestrian activity. Also, the increased density of the project we think is inherently sustainable, but on a more technical level, we're incorporating a variety of elements that we think will make the buildings perform better, be more comfortable to live in, and healthier to live in. These include, for example, in the first building that we're currently designing, additional insulation in the exterior wall. We've allowed for more room for insulation to increase the insulating value of the walls. The project, this first project and most likely subsequent projects will be participating in the Enterprise Green Communities Initiative, which I see you're nodding and you're very familiar with, is for the other commissioners is really a sustainability rating system that's comparable to LEED, but really focused on affordable housing, which sets certain standards for energy use, water conservation, so on and so forth. Another small example, as the lighting market changes, we're going to all LED lighting, both within the apartments as well as in public areas. So there are a variety of things that we'll be doing, and we hope as subsequent buildings are designed and built in the master plan, whether by us or other architects, that we'll be able to take advantage of emerging technologies as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Levin, then, Commissioner Efron, then Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you. Most of my questions have been answered. I have two small ones. Will you hold the school site through 2029 is one question. I imagine it's yes, but I just want to hear it. And the second question is, since you're doing so many infrastructure improvements and LED lights and other things, I have asked you this before about other projects, will there be high-speed internet available as part of the complex for the residents?
Don't know is the answer. There are privacy issues that other developers sort of provide. You mean having it provided by the landlord? Certainly there'll be wiring. I mean that part's easy. Providing the service itself raises some questions.
It was really the wiring I was concerned about.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Hi, good morning. I wanted to revisit a few questions I had during review session with respect to the retail. I have to say it's a tremendous project, and you've clearly taken a lot of time and given a lot of thought to the public right-of-way and public space, and I particularly like Barnett Avenue, the reintroduction of the street. I think that's a great element. I'm curious about the public space or the what's happening under the elevated right there. There's no road there, and yet it seems like an opportunity for found public space, particularly given its proximity to what we hope will be a school, and would be a shorter distance for the neighborhood to connect with that retail. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Unfortunately, that question needs to be addressed to the MTA.
It's closed now, correct?
It is privately owned for purposes of zoning in the original large-scale plan. It is fully eased. It's under easement to the MTA. We, to be perfectly honest, have fought with them over the years to clean it up, to make it, it's a yard for them. They use it as storage for a lot of, it's an extension of the 180th Street yard, essentially. They use it for storage of materials, for work on the trestle that holds up that very often screechy S-curve that comes around the development. We have the ability to access it only from East 179th Street into a parking garage, what's currently a parking garage, and that easement will remain ours, or that use will remain ours. But otherwise, there's not much we can do. We'll ask them once again, when the new development is built, to try to provide some visual screening.
I mean, I think, you know, I would encourage the conversation and would really, you know, from my perspective, it's such a great opportunity. It's the front door. It could potentially be the front door to the retail and to the school, and create a much stronger connection between those things. So,
I take issue only in that it's more the back door. East Tremont Avenue, here I'll just indicate right here, is really the busy street. East Tremont Avenue, Boston Road is a major intersection in the Bronx. The East 179th Street is a dead-end street. Where is it? Right here.
fair enough, but it's what's in closest proximity to your
I
residential.
completely agree. It's been a challenge for us to make East 179th Street, it's a cul-de-sac, actually.
Yeah, I
So
saw
to
that.
make that, enliven that is, one thing that will help is the Bronx River Greenway, which
Mm-hmm.
will run from East 180th to East 179th and then continue along the closed, what used, I can't stand the fact that, being a Bronx resident, that a street called Bronx Street has been demapped. But nonetheless, at least it's demapped for a park that runs right here in between our property and the Bronx River Arts Center.
And then another question. You mentioned there'll be 40,000 square feet of commercial in parcel 10. And the balance will be located along Boston Road. I'm curious, you know, how do you plan to distribute that retail? And you know, Bill mentioned the entrance to the Bronx Zoo, so I wondered precisely where is the entrance to the Bronx Zoo? And is that some of the, it seems like that's some of the underlying rationale to a merchandising plan.
Sure. You can see the commercial overlay, actually. Now, what's the best chart to show? You think this?
Where the trees are. It's right
So
there.
the Asia Gate, which is one of the entrances to the Bronx Zoo, is right here. The other entrances over on South, there's obviously one, an old entrance on Fordham Road, the north entrance to the zoo, and the main parking area is about 3 or 4 blocks westward on Southern Boulevard and Bronx Park South.
So is this a well-utilized entrance? I imagine a lot of people are coming in the subway and walking there, or?
You know,
Yeah.
I have a funny story about that, of course. When I began working at Phipps, I first took the subway up to the zoo, and because Lambert was such a treacherous place, we were actually directed to go to a stop, the East 180th Street stop, which is one beyond the West Farm stop, so that you wouldn't walk past Lambert.
So
Lambert
there's
and
an
then parked across the
opportunity
street.
here.
I think there is. I think destination retail, or retail that takes advantage of zoo traffic, which is seasonal, much more than anything, is where we would focus our intent. You're not going to find an opportunity there to locate, you know, a big destination shopping or daily goods
Oh, yeah.
shopping. It would be something that's more oriented toward the seasonal shopper or seasonal street
And really the neighborhood.
pedestrian walking by.
Yeah. So where is it concentrated? Where is the idea
Where
to
is-
concentrate the
Up-
balance of the,
The balance of the commercial overlay is up Boston Road.
but precisely
And if I may
where? I mean,
just-
are you hoping to concentrate it or disperse it?
Would
is
just
my
let-
question.
Disperse it mainly at the corners of the buildings, at each corner. So these would be like corner shops along the frontage on Boston Road.
But just to supplement the point, this is by far the closest subway station to the zoo, And as Adam said, it's not nearly as heavily used as it might be. And so that's why one of the points, and we talked about this at the very beginning when we first started discussing this project, was the idea of having retail along Boston Road that could activate that street some more. We even talked about, if feasible, to have maybe retail that has some type of a zoo motif or something like that that could relate to it. I'm more visionary than you.
I guess that,
But,
Ted is planning his next career as a real estate broker.
we consider that to be a very important point, is to activate that street there, for the benefit of the residents, the benefit of the community, and for the benefit of the zoo.
I mean, I like the connection back to the zoo. I see that as an opportunity. I guess the concern I have is that, you're looking at total about 60,000 square feet of space. That's the equivalent of a neighborhood, commercial center. And the more you disperse it, the harder it is for any one business to succeed. The concentration of retail, particularly convenience retail, and the close to one another really helps the businesses because it draws more customers rather than the sort of corner model. And just something to think about because we want these businesses to be successful ultimately.
Good point. Any other questions for the applicant team? Commissioner Levin? I knew you'd have a question. I just anticipated it too soon. Okay.
But two issues have been alluded to. One, I'm curious about the architectural planning over the stretch of time. You've alluded to the notion of perhaps working with different architects. What's your architectural, and it seems like one of the problems the existing buildings is that they're so uniform, it just feels very institutional. What are your thoughts about the architectural design of the various buildings over time? And what other work are you doing to address obviously architecture and new buildings is going to be a big solution to the social problems you've encountered here. Is there other work you're doing to ensure that this community is a healthier community, one that, folks might consider taking that approach to the zoo?
I'll start with the architect since I'm one of them. I mean, this is such a large project. I think it really is appropriate that it be designed by a number of different architects so that the buildings don't have that uniform look. The original Lamberts, which I must say I studied as a model when I went to architecture school at City College. It was a well-regarded project on paper. Didn't play out. It was a real product of that late 1960s mega structure type planning by a distinguished firm, by the way. But I think what we really, our vision for Lambert houses as it evolves is really that it feel like an organic neighborhood, not something that's just superimposed by one person or one firm's vision, but really kind of grows organically. I think this master plan, we hope, really sets a solid framework for that development, but also allows some flexibility as FIPS sees what's working and how they could improve it and tweak it, and how other architects can interpret and work within that framework to develop really a cohesive but organic neighborhood.
Does that address the first part of the
Yes,
question
absolutely.
adequately? I do want to emphasize that I think that the plan has really set forth some principles that work both architecturally, but also address the fundamental, well-intentioned, but fundamental flaws with the original Lambert. For instance, 42 separate means of access and egress, no distinction between public and private open space, no programming for open space. These are fundamental problems that need to be addressed in the planning of the new Lambert, whatever your architectural treatment, whatever your design treatment, and thus concentrating entries, creating view corridors. The original Lambert is a long wall. You can actually, in Datner's and Bill's and his colleagues' plan, you can actually see that it is possible to be standing at the Bronx River and look entirely through the redesigned Lambert. So maintaining that view corridor, maintaining the look in. While it may be private space, I want the, as we have at other projects, at Via Verde, for instance, and at other great developments throughout New York City. Riverton is a perfect example, where the pedestrian or someone driving by can look in and see the beauty and enjoy it. And that space can also be opened up for programmed, public, semi-public events. The second part of your question, this is the nexus of FIPS's social service activity through our affiliate FIPS Neighborhoods. It is the location of our Opportunity Center. Where we run our Career Network healthcare program, which is a employment program that has had enormous success preparing kids who have left school to either re-engage in an associate's, focusing on healthcare, or a job. And Montefiore has graciously partnered with us and provides an interview to every single applicant, every single participant that finishes the program. And I'm proud to say 2/3 of the cohort, which is a stunning number, have actually completed the program and been placed in jobs. And of that 2/3, 30% have been promoted. So we run a huge array of social service programming and have for 40 years. In fact, FIPS Neighborhoods, which used to be called FIPS Community Development Corporation, started when we built Lambert houses. But it was sort of an amorphous, let's have 2 social workers to do case management for 700 poor families. It didn't, we really realized we needed to be invested in the community, take ourselves out of our buildings while our programs are probably 25 to 30% of the participants in our programs also live in FIPS buildings. They're community-based programs.
Any other questions for the applicant team? Thank you, applicant team. Switching to those in opposition, the first speaker is Jose Veras from Local 32BJ. Good morning, Mr. Veras.
Good morning. My name is Jose Veras. I'm a building service worker and a SEIU member for the last 24 years in counting. My union jobs allow me to sustain a family in New York City. Through my job, my family received access to high quality health care and allow me to save money for my retirement. I believe that all workers in New York City should have the same opportunity. I'm here to testify on behalf of building service workers at FIPS Houses. FIPS Houses has stated missions of helping the people of New York City build healthy, prosperous communities. FIPS is the largest nonprofit affordable housing developer in the city. This means it's also a very large employer. For years, FIPS recognized that it could help New Yorkers to build strong communities, not only by building affordable housing, but also by creating good jobs. Unfortunately, this is less and less true. Since Adam Waston took over as an organization CEO in 2001, FIPS has increasingly created low wages building service jobs. The majority of workers in older FIPS buildings earns the industry standard for building service jobs in New York. These wages allows workers to build strong communities. Although the Waston has said repeatedly that FIPS pays union rates in all its buildings. However, the contractors that FIPS works with often pay poverty wages and offer no meaningful benefits to these workers. For instance, the Cornish complex, the largest development to open during Mr. Wason's tenure, workers are subcontracted. They cannot afford to pay health care out of the package because of the low wages. This week, these workers deliver a petition to fix asking for a fair process as they attempt to organize in a union. Over the past few months, a hearing like this, Phipps has said repeatedly that the time to discuss workers' rights is after a development is built.
Two more sentences, Mr. Veras?
Okay.
Pick your best.
All right, no problem. We believe that the Lambert rezoning should go forward, to not go forward until Phipps has committed to create good jobs across its portfolio. And by over the decade and a half, we have good reason to believe that they're not being committed to its words. So that's why we want them to have a petition in which they agree before they develop this building that they're going to offer good jobs to those workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veras. Questions, Mr. Veras? Ms. Deluz?
Thanks for being here. Can you just share what your definition of fair wages is?
Fair wages would be a competitive wages in which people who live in New York City. Most of the people working as these houses, lumber houses, they're making over around $13 an hour. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question. Would you happen to know, Mr. Veras, what percentage of the Phipps workforce is unionized?
I will have that questions on hands right now, but I will be glad to get the answer for
Could
you.
you submit it? Thank you. Any other questions to Mr. Veras? Thank you, Mr. Veras. Switching back to those in favor, next speaker is Kara McAteer, Phipps Houses.
Good morning, I'm Kara McAteer from Phipps Houses, and I signed up to speak just to see if anyone else had any final questions for us.
Careful what you wish for, Ms. McAteer. Well, are there questions for Ms. McAteer? Yes, Mr.
No, just your role at Phipps.
I'm a project manager on the development team. I've been working on Lambert for the past 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McAteer. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And hearing none, I will say that the public hearing is closed, but the record will remain open for 10 days until Monday, August 22nd, to receive written testimony on the draft EIS. So with that, I will close the hearing, but keep the record open. Thank you.
Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 46, CD 10, C160335, PCX. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the site selection and acquisition of property concerning the Westchester Square Branch Library.
My understanding is that there is nobody here to testify on this matter. You be careful what you wish for. Hearing nobody, the hearing is closed.
Okay. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 47 and 48. Calendar number 47, CD1, N160250ZRX. Calendar number 48, C160251ZMX. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning East 147th Street rezoning.
The first speaker is Lisa Orantia. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yes. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Orantia from Ackerman LLP, representing the applicant MLK Plaza LLC. This is a proposed rezoning that will affect 17 tax lots on the north and south side of East 147th Street between Southern Boulevard and Austin Place in Mott Haven. The proposal is to classify the rezoned area as a mandatory inclusionary housing designated area and to change an M12 to a R7X, M12 to R7X C14 with the overlay over portions of 5 tax lots that are 100 feet deep from Southern Boulevard on the northeast and southeast corners of East 147th Street, and to rezone a portion of the M13 to R7X. The applicant seeks to develop a 12-story residential building with cellar. It will be 100% affordable with 165 dwelling units. And the breakdown is 46 dwelling units for formerly homeless households, 13 dwelling units for at 90% AMI, 106 dwelling units at 60% AMI. The building will have a maximum height of 125 feet and 6 FAR. It will contain a community room, laundry facilities, and a mix of dwelling unit sizes, studio to 3-bedroom. The proposed development will help satisfy a need for affordable residential construction. It'll be compatible with the neighboring R72 and R8X districts, and it will reflect existing residential uses in the area. There are existing residential uses on each of these portions of the rezoning area on both sides of East 147th Street. Few existing uses in the project area would be non-conforming under the proposed action, and the proposed C14 overlay will create a continuous commercial strip extending from the existing commercial uses on the north side of East 147th Street. I'm sorry, on the east side of Southern Boulevard, on the north side of, north of East 147th Street. The proposed R7X will adjoin the northwestern edge of the Port Morris IBZ. This area is zoned M13, where light industrial uses are allowed. M1 districts are a buffer between M12 and M2 and M3, adjacent to residential districts. And industrial uses in an M1 are required to meet performance standards governing noise, vibration, smoke, and other matter. Industrial uses near the site include printing and electrical supply establishments. The nearby industrial uses that are operating aren't expected to create heavy traffic around the proposed development. And it should be noted that there are other residential districts throughout the city that adjoin IBZs, and 2 examples in the Bronx are the Zarega and Hunts Point IBZs. Lastly, I'd like to address the applicant's responsiveness to the community board. The applicant attended the community board hearing on May 26th, along with the project architect, representative from HPD, who gave a presentation on affordable housing. There was active participation by the board members, mostly on the issue of public notice of rezonings, the affordable housing program, and landscaping.
One more sentence.
I just want to state that of the 5 requests that the community board mentioned in their recommendation, the developer has been responsive to 4 out of 5.
Well, which one haven't you been responsive?
The remaining being the request to exclude one of the lots from the rezoning area. And the developer and the city's position on this is that the proposed, the reason the request is made to exclude this lot is because there's a proposed commercial hotel there, and that would be inconsistent with the existing residential uses in the area. The borough president has expressed a concern about having a commercial hotel in that location, about it being compatible with the neighborhood. And the owner of this lot can pursue a vested right if it wants to assert a claim to continue under the prior zoning designation.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Orentia? Commissioner Delos?
Hi, thanks for being here. Just two questions. I wanted to follow up, since you said that the applicant is addressing the first concern that was raised by the community board. If you could talk a little bit about what the concern was about the management company and what the plan is there. And then I think you mentioned, how many homeless units? 40, was it 46? 40?
46 dwelling units for formerly homeless.
And are there any planned services for those families? That can always be answered by a subsequent
No.
person. Okay.
And to your first question, the community board recommended that the developer seek to obtain a management company other than Wavecrest, and the developer will accommodate this request by interviewing other companies. It wasn't clear what the nature of their concern was.
This is a particular concern to Commissioner Ortiz.
I can tell you something about that.
You can speak to her afterwards. Other questions? Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Well, I would just underscore Commissioner De La Luz's question about on-site services for the formerly homeless. And you indicate they're not currently planned. I guess I question, perhaps we question, that hopefully preliminary decision. Point taken?
Yeah, the Daniel Rad, who represents the developer, is here and can address that issue.
Well, he's scheduled to speak, so we will wait for him.
Okay.
And Commissioner Ortiz, Delos, do you have?
Well, perhaps in anticipation of him coming up, it would be helpful to know whether or not those homeless families are just homeless or homeless with special needs, and that might distinguish the need for services or not.
We will await with bated breath Mr. Rad's appearance before us. Any other questions for Ms. Orentia? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Carolyn Kenzia, and you...
I'm just available for questions.
What's your role?
I work for the developer.
You work for Mr. Rad, is that?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Rad presumably can answer all his questions directly.
Yes.
Thank you. The next speaker is Fernando Villa from MAP Architects.
Good morning. I'll be very brief. My name is Fernando Villa. I'm a principal at Magnuson Architecture and Planning. We're the architects for the building that you see the boards here. And I'm here to also answer any questions that you have regarding the architectural design. Our firm is committed to affordable housing, especially in the Bronx. So we're well known for our projects in all over the borough, especially in the Melrose Commons area. This particular building for us is I think it's going to be a high mark in high quality design for affordable housing. So we're proposing a building that is, although is under the low income housing ELA program, the architectural design is really up to quality of comparable to a market rate building. So we really want to make a statement that this is a new trend in high quality for affordable housing. The building itself is located, as it was described before, on 147th Street, Timpson Place, and Austin Place, because it's a building that the majority of the facade is facing south. I think in regarding the sustainable design concerns that Michelle expressed before, we take a sustainable design in this particular building very carefully, and the Borough President wants to promote this building to be a LEED gold or better. We're trying to get it to the highest possible sustainable design. So some of the ideas that we have here, in addition to being facing south and trying to shade the building to promote daylight in all the units, is because the massing of the building goes higher at the corner. That's where the main lobby, and that's the view that you have on the left. So that's the main lobby at the corner of 147 and Timpson Place, and it's closer to the transit, the subway nearby. And then as the building goes along the 147, it steps back. And every time the building sets back, we're creating green roofs that are going to be part of the amenities for the residents. Not only visual, but they can be used, especially at the main setback. Also, the building has a corridor of landscape at the back.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, here. A landscape courtyard. All the units will have triple glazed windows. We're going to use the latest BRF mechanical systems. All the other technical green features that are very normal now in terms of the energy code, insulation, LED lighting will be included. So it really is a high mark for affordable housing. In terms of the other features of the architectural design, I mean, it's basically double-loaded corridor. We're trying to maximize active design, so the stairs will have windows. Elevator lobbies will always have views to exterior. Any other questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Questions to Mr. Villa? Commissioner Marin.
Mr. Villa, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm just curious to what happens in the courtyard area. Is that just the courtyard for the residents of the building? Is that also parking entrance? Is it secure? And the building adjacent to that, what is that building?
Yeah, the first question about the use of the courtyard is for residents only. We don't have any parking here, so it's just a landscape courtyard. And because we have at the ground floor the laundry room and the community room are located at the ground floor, they have direct access to the rear yard. But because this courtyard, due to the massing of the building is facing north, we're providing an additional open space at the setback that is facing south. So you have ground floor amenities, but at the same time you have a green roof that is accessible I think it's at the 7th floor setback.
And will that area be fenced in at the perimeter?
Yes, at the ground floor, yes, of course, yeah.
And the building, again, the question about the building behind that, can you recall what that building is?
Is it residential as well? Is this one here?
That's correct.
Our house.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cantor, then Commissioner Deluz.
I don't think that rendering does you justice based upon your description. Could you give us a little more information regarding the materials?
Right, okay. The materials that we're using, is a combination of brick and fiber cement panels. So it's a combination, fiber cement panels. And then we're breaking the mass, as you see in the two renderings, trying to create a base of brick, which is a modern take on the traditional buildings of the Bronx. And the metal or fiber cement panels, their material is trying to break the scale of the building as you go up. At the ground floor, the lobby is glazed, it's a double high lobby, so it's like at night, it's like a lantern because it's going to be lit 24/7. So that's the anchor point of the building.
On the lower floor?
Yes, at the ground floor, the lower floor. The building also has a lobby in the 7th floor, double high lobby that opens to the south. So we're trying to create a combination of brick and panels in a modern way. Different.
Have you priced this?
The developer is also a GC, and I think we're working with them very closely as we develop the design. We're just in the early stage. We're submitting to DOB right now, but yeah, we have the GC on board for pricing all the time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Delos.
Hi, Fernando.
Hi, Michelle.
Because the building abuts the IBZ area on Austin, I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about how the design of the building tries to, takes that into consideration as part of this process. I think you mentioned triple glazed windows, is that true?
Right, yes, exactly. We're trying to, address the issue of noise and so the windows that we're providing, not only because it's now available in the market, there's a lot of options right now about triple glaze and high energy efficient windows. So we're proposing to use some of these brands. And again, we're trying to also the massing, because we're moving the massing to a corner to the other side to 147. That's the tallest point of the building, and it steps back, so it relates to buildings along Timpson Place to the north, and also steps back to the Austin Place, to the buildings here. So the majority of the density is away from the place where you have more noise.
Any other questions, Mr. Villa? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker, I think, again, just to answer questions, is Joseph Meyer, also from Mad Architects, unless you have something to add to Mr. Villa. Thank you. And the much now anticipated Dan Rad from Radson Development.
Hello, Daniel Rad, Radson Development, developer and applicant. I'm here to answer any questions.
I think there are some.
Thank you for being here. So the 46 homeless units, that's part of the ELA program, I'm pretty sure. And is it anticipated that those families will have special needs, or just be families who otherwise ended up homeless because they couldn't pay high rent someplace else?
That's correct. I just want to correct it. Currently, it's a maximum of 50 formerly homeless units, but we're currently negotiating for December closing with HPD. We're at 33 currently.
I see.
I don't think there's a desire on either side to go to 50, but it could be up to 50 in the ELA program, and it is correct. It's formerly homeless, not for special needs, so it's not a supportive housing project.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rad? Commissioner Efron.
Thank you. Are you currently or are you managing other properties in the immediate area with a similar population? And is there anything, let me ask that first.
Yes.
And is there anything you have learned from that experience that is informing the design of this property?
The design of this property is more of a conceptual step in the company. A generation has turned over in the company. So the idea is really just to improve the quality, because we're thinking that if you improve the quality for the tenants, they'll respond differently to the building. And also, the higher quality products last longer. So it's more of a design element to make sure that the tenants enjoy the space. And hopefully, that translates into taking better care of the space.
I have one more question.
Certainly, Commissioner Efron again.
It is a beautiful and somewhat monumental lobby with the double height and lots of glass. Will it be attended?
It is not an attended lobby, but in all of our current buildings and future buildings, we're using a doorman system that's virtual. So it's like you push a button and a remote person pops up, and they see who's at the door through the camera system. And let you in or don't let you in with the tenant's permission.
And will somebody be monitoring the camera, or is it a virtual monitoring?
Yeah, so for security, we also have virtual monitoring. So it's not, but we do have full-time staff in the building. We have a full-time live-in super and 2 porters that don't live, but they come work daily.
Okay, just because you have families there, I'm trying to ascertain how secure it is for children coming home, but it sounds as if you've at least considered that.
Yeah, so, right, so we find that by putting lots of security cameras on the street front and throughout the building, and having these cameras that are interactive, they have the ability to, they're being monitored kind of like your home alarm service by a third-party service, and if people are loitering outside and are unwanted, a voice prompt comes through the camera, says, please move. You have 3 minutes, otherwise we notify the authorities, it'll notify the management, we'll notify the authorities, and then the super will be involved. It's a management process that we're refining, and we find that it's a very effective deterrent for any type of issues, better than having someone just in the lobby.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes. You mentioned the two-level lobby is an advantage to the building. My question is, and I don't know if the population really will require it, but are the mail rooms going to be substantially more sized than they have been in the past? And I ask that question because I've seen lobbies all over the city that are spread out with Amazon boxes and parcels, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we've increased the lobby size and the lighting of the lobby by making it 2 stories in glass.
What about the package for them?
And by doing so, by making a larger lobby, you have a more open and visible mail area. It's really, think of it like an open space mail room and when you're walking into the lobby.
When you're going to be walking into a warehouse.
It's more of like a modern architecture for an entry lobby, and it's open space, so it's inviting and doesn't create, I think, like a pocket that would be a. What was that?
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is that it's open, it's bright, it's lit, and there's no like hidden areas that go out of vision. So everything's open and bright and clean.
Any other questions, Mr. Rad? Thank you, Mr. Rad. Are you the incoming generation or the outgoing generation?
I'm the incoming generation, and yes. And I know you didn't ask the question, but we're the developer GC, so the pricing is been worked out. So.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? Hearing none, the hearing is closed.
Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 49, CD2, C160199, ZSM. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the grant of a special permit concerning 248 Lafayette Street.
First speaker is Marvin Mintzner. Welcome back, Mr. Mintzner.
Pleasure to be back. Good morning, Chairman Weisbach, Commissioners. Marvin Mitzner for the applicant. This is a 74-711 application for a special permit to allow a portion of the first floor and cellar at 248 Lafayette Street to be used for a retail occupancy. 248 Lafayette Street, as you can tell from both the area map and the site plan, is a through lot having frontages on Lafayette and Crosby of 25 feet and a lot depth that varies from 134 to 148 feet. It's located between Spring and Prince Streets. It's a 6-story and cellar building. A portion of the first floor and floors 2 through 6 are occupied by joint living work quarter for artists. The portion of the first floor that fronts on Lafayette Street, as well as the cellar, are currently vacant. They were previously occupied by both illegal residences and some other commercial uses, but they're now vacant. As you can see from the elevation, we have a portion of the site that fronts on Lafayette Street. It's about 1,390 square feet that we're asking to be used for use group 6 occupancy. The balance of the first floor has an existing joint living work quarter for artists that will remain, as well as the joint living work quarter for artists on the 2nd through 6th floors. We're also asking that the cellar space at about 2,270 square feet be also occupied, or be occupied for retail occupancy. Site is located in the Soho Cast Iron District. We've appeared before the Landmark Preservation Commission, and as required by the special permit, and one of the conditions is, or a number of the conditions are, that Landmarks approve a preservation and maintenance plan, which they have done, as well as issue a certificate of appropriateness, which they have also done. If you look at these boards, this is the Lafayette Street frontage. The center photograph shows, I don't know if you can see that, the center photograph shows the existing condition. That's the Crosby Street frontage. Again, the center photograph shows the existing condition. As part of our maintenance and preservation plan, we will be adding cornices which have been removed over time to both frontages, restoring the storefronts to the historic character, as well as treating the facade in terms of removing any anomalies and restoring the brickwork, as well as cleaning the facades. The ongoing maintenance program also requires us, or includes a master plan for window replacement, which will take place over time to bring the windows back to their historic character.
Thank you,
Just one
Mr.
sentence.
Mintzer.
One
What?
sentence. One more sentence.
One more sentence.
The community board unanimously approved the application, and the borough president issued an approval recommendation.
We knew that already.
It's for the
thank you.
record.
Questions for Mr. Mintzer? Commissioner Levin.
Well, also for the record, I believe the community board was relying on your client's assurances that there wouldn't be an eating and drinking establishment here, and I think the borough president supported that limitation as well. Is that a limitation your client is prepared to abide by?
Yes, absolutely. We've offered that both at the community board and in our discussions with the borough president.
Okay, so no eating and drinking establishment?
No eating and drinking establishment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Ortiz?
Just a follow-up on that. Will that commitment be memorialized in any way? How will that?
We've made that commitment. We have no intention. We haven't been searching out for any eating and drinking. We're gearing this toward retail because of the nature of the space, which is a small portion of the first floor, and a cellar floor, which has separate occupancies. It doesn't lend itself to that anyway. But if the commission chooses to make that a condition of the approval, we have no objection.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Mintzer? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ahmed Tagani from the Manhattan Borough President's Office.
Hello, good afternoon, morning, good afternoon. My name is Ahmed Tagani.
We expect you to finish before morning ends.
I know.
So,
I'll try to reach that far.
Okay.
My name is Ahmed Tagani. I'm the Assistant Director for Land Use at the Manhattan Borough President's Office. I appreciate this opportunity to testify on behalf of the Borough President regarding her support of this application. After reviewing the applicant's submission, the Borough President believes a sound and thorough argument has been presented for granting a special permit pursuant to 74-711. The applicant has acted in good faith with a proposal that does nothing to modify the joint live quarter apartments above the ground floor with a commitment to a robust restoration and maintenance plan for both the Lafayette and Crosby sides. Additionally, the applicant showed their willingness to work with the community by addressing Community Board 2's concerns by prohibiting any eating and drinking establishments from occupying the ground floor or cellar. And I'd just like to support the comment made earlier, making that a part of the commission's granting of this application would go a long way. There's a lot of information that we've submitted in our recommendation before. I do want to point out that one of the reasons why we went in this direction, survey information presented by the applicant to show that an extensive change has happened on the ground floor in the area. They note particularly that 82% of the buildings on Crosby and Lafayette Street between Broome and Houston Street had turned over to this change. So while we definitely support and see that there is an argument for this building, it still does not indicate whether or not this area is mixed use as a result of the zoning or other forces at work. And so we know that the Department of City Planning has called for and local officials have supported a comprehensive look of the area, and we look forward to seeing that pursued. I'll just end by saying that we believe the conditions and the findings have been satisfied, particularly LPC's support of the robust maintenance plan and its recording as a restriction on the deed, and I'm available for any questions about our position or our thought process on the application.
Thank you, Mr. Degani, and just to underscore what you said, indeed, the department is working with the Borough President's Office, the council member, and others, as we have said, on a comprehensive look at Soho, NoHo, and its considerable complexities. So,
it's a tough cookie.
Questions for Mr. Degani? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And you did make it under the wire. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? If not, the hearing is closed.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 50, CD9 N170019 PXQ. A public hearing in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for Queens District Attorney.
First speaker is Dale Lazarson from DCAS. Welcome back, Ms. Lazarson.
Thank you. Good morning,
Good
Chairman,
morning.
Vice Chairman, Commissioners, this hot and humid day. So for the record, as stated, I am Dale Lazarson with DCAS and the Asset Management Leasing Group. I am here on behalf of DCAS and the Queens DA, the co-applicants, to present and be in favor of the 195 application in front of you, which is a notice of intent to acquire office space. As the notice describes in front of you, and as you heard on Monday, the particular acquisition of office space, approximately 40,000 square feet, will be for the Queens DA operations. This is commercial space in a private building. This will be under a lease, a long-term lease, approximately 20 years with renewal options. The building is ideally situated in the central Queens area, Kew Gardens adjacent Forest Hills, which siting matter was a significant driver for the DA's operations, being adjacent to the courthouse and Borough Hall. The building is of a mixed-use composition, 11 floors of residential tower and 4 floors of commercial office space, cellar space, underground space, if you will, and a parking garage. The proposed acquisition for the approximate 40,000 square feet of office space will cause the DA to be 100% occupant of the commercial space. And as you also heard on Monday, the city has had a long-term presence in this space, formerly the Buildings Department and Board of Elections, who recently relocated. The building is privately owned by the LaFrac organization, a very well-known and large New York City property owner, both residential and commercial properties. Can I answer any questions? I should also mention, in terms of the DA operations, Eileen Sullivan from the DA is here to speak toward those operations. Can I answer any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Lazarson. Questions for Ms. Lazarson? Ms. Lazarson? No questions.
No lease versus buy questions? Would you like me to respond to that from Monday?
Very impressive. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we do have Eileen Sullivan here from the Queens District Attorney's Office. And Ms. Sullivan, do you want to add anything to what Ms. Isaacson said?
I'm here first to emphasize that this has been a longstanding problem of lack of office facility space in the area. There is no other government-owned space that's available. At this point, we are having long-term discussions with the city about the possibility far in the future of a consolidated facility, which would be our choice. But that is certainly long in the future. So we have been stymied about moving ahead with certain of our new initiatives, and we sorely need space. We are behind in our space needs by about 90,000 square feet. So this, yes, and by prevailing office standards. So we are trying to snatch up this building, which is a rare opportunity near the courthouse. So we are hoping to consolidate some of our Supreme Court trial bureaus that currently are in rental space about 3 blocks down from the courthouse, so that they don't have to roll their files down Queens Boulevard in the snow.
Is there a parade every morning as they do that?
And then they have to cross the Boulevard of Death, too, as they say with the cars. So it's an interesting proposition. So at least they'll be closer. So I'm available for any questions that you might have.
I think we heard at the review session on Monday that there's, 800 employees in the Queens DA's office?
There are actually about 640 as of today. We're about 650, but we house an NYPD squad, state police squad. We have law school clinical programs that are ongoing. We have folks from state insurance, not-for-profits for crime victim services. So that's what adds up to about the 800.
And how many square feet are you currently in now?
About 132,000 square feet. Two-thirds of our staff is in rental space. Our main facility was built in the 1950s and is only a small portion of the 132,000. And quite frankly, we've been relying on the largesse of the city and the borough president. We take any little cubby that becomes available in Borough Hall. So we have space down there. But we have about 90,000 square feet in 8002 Kew Gardens Road, which is about 3 blocks away. That was originally envisioned because of the long-term space issues even 20 years ago. We were triaging and had located our investigative division. Our attorneys do, of course, work in the courthouse from that division, but they are not in every day, as our folks in the trial division are. So we've had to move folks from the trial division down there a long time ago, so it's quite challenging.
Thank you. Questions, Ms. Sullivan? Commissioner Delos?
I'm feeling your pain, I really am, because it's such a tremendous shortage of space for such a significant office in terms of staff.
And it has been a big priority for the district attorney.
It sounds like that, and it sounds like it has to be. So will the 90,000 square foot shortage, is that after the 40,000 square feet is leased?
Well, the 90,000 was based on our pre-July 1st budget. We happily were supported by the city for some additional staff for new initiatives, such as an anti-gun violence initiative, an increased detective squad, additional appeals assistance to deal with a plethora of civil litigation that has been growing exponentially. So the 90,000 included, all of our needs prior to July 1st. So the 40,000 is part of that. But we probably will have to redo the calculations now with this new money for additional headcount. But, intend to do that, but priority is the 90,000 first.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes, Ms. Sullivan, I'm feeling your pain too, and it seems like you're completely right to grab this space, as you put it. But I'm struck that it is in the base of a residential building.
Yes.
And I'm wondering about the relationship between the DA's operations at this location and the residential population. Are the entrances separated?
The entrances are separate.
Will there be conflicts, especially considering this is a not fully 24/7 operation, but will have activity around the clock? Is this going to work in a residential building?
I believe so. Number one, there are separate entrances, and of course, we want security for our DA's office files and personnel and witnesses as well. So there are separate entrances and exits. The core of the building will be separated from the residential facility. The activity will mainly be during business hours, 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, but our staff, you know, we like them to work overtime. So, we do give our attorneys 24/7 access to their current office facilities, and would hope to do that here, but it will not be a high-volume business. There may be some public events that we use the conference rooms facilities that we're hoping to see on the first floor. But again, for the most part, it would be during business hours.
Okay. Is the entrance to this space on the same frontage as the entrance to the residential? They're different sides of the building?
Different sides. Our entrance would be on Queens Boulevard, and the residential is on Hoover.
Yeah.
It's Hoover Avenue.
Okay, go. And do you know, did the community board have a chance to look at this application? The time fuse on these is pretty short.
I'm not certain whether the community board has. I'm going to defer to Dale, but we certainly have had many discussions with the borough president, Melinda Katz, on this, and she's very supportive on expansion of our facilities currently in terms of rental space, and hopefully at one point for a new consolidated facility at some point in the future.
Okay, we should all hope for so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just, I'm informed by staff that the community board is certainly aware of the application. It was referred to their land use committee, which did not respond, but
Okay.
apparently didn't have an issues.
No rockets went up. Okay, good.
Any other questions for Ms. Sullivan? Yes, Mr. Cantor.
Wasn't this building the home of the building department of Queens for like 25 years?
It was, and I think at some point, they moved over to Borough Hall. And the Board of Elections, I think, had been a co-tenant with the Department of Buildings at one point, is my memory. And they stayed behind and have recently moved. We were quite excited to see them move because of the location clearly by the courthouse.
The tenants of the building are used to traffic.
Yes, absolutely. City agencies, absolutely, and the members of the public coming in. That was likely a higher volume too, in terms of building permits. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Sullivan? Thank you, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And if not, this hearing is closed. And Madam Secretary, is there
One more.
any other matter to
One
come
more.
before us? One more.
Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 51, 52, and 53 concerning 102 Ditmas Boulevard, parking garage. These items have been withdrawn. I saw that face.
We got some of us a little worried for a minute. Okay, now, is there any other matter to come before us today?
That is it.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And I hear unanimity, and thank you very much.